All right, here we go. What was your biggest struggle and what is the biggest lesson you learned from it?
Oh, there's so many. I am going to say my biggest struggle has been oh my God. I'm going to go with the last scenario that I just lived out. And that was escaping my last relationship. I was being financially abused, sexually, emotionally, and mentally abused. I had no money, even though I was living in a really nice house, driving a really nice car. And I had to come from a place where I felt unworthy, sinful, disempowered, and somehow find power. And I had to dig really deep. And part of this platform, the reason I created the platform that we're talking on right now, is because I promised myself during that situation that if and when I ever got out, I would create a place where women can go, and no matter what video they clicked on or what blog they clicked on, it would give a message of power and inspiration. And I did that because I have created this because during that time, I did not have any power. I had no power for myself. I had to physically pull power. I'm going to start getting teary-eyed. I had to pull power from the words, whether it was written or verbal, from other women, and believe them. I have faith in them, basically, that if they did it, I could do it too. And I read every personal growth book you could possibly think of, every book on financial power, especially written by women that I could put my hands on. And every moment where I had time to myself, where my spouse was not in the room or around me, I was listening to YouTube, listening to podcasts, reading, and pulling power from other women. And within a short amount of time, doing all of the things they told me to do. All of the things. They told me to do something, the next day I was doing it. They told me to do something, next day I was doing it. And I started to create a little bit of wealth. I started to create a little bit of power. I started to create a little bit of confidence. I started to walk taller. I started to talk louder. I started to believe in myself. I started to say, if they could do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. I started to consistently tell myself everything's going to be okay. That's still my mantra to this day. It was a mantra that I adopted probably 5 years before I left that relationship. I would just, whenever things, which was every day, there was total turmoil every day. I lived in Armageddon every day. I always said to myself, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to make it through. Everything's going to be okay. And I still use that to this day. Anything that's going wrong, anything that is hitting me wrong or coming up as negative in my head, everything's going to be okay. And I automatically, my whole body transforms from up to, to down, to calm. So I think that it was getting out of that. And what I learned was my power. That I do have a voice, that I do matter, that I do have a purpose. Because in that situation, I was told every single day that I didn't have a purpose. I was told every single day that I was uneducated, didn't have a college degree, will never make more than $31,000 a year, will end up living in a cardboard box without him. He used to say, if you ever leave me, within 2 years, I'd find you in the back of I'd find you behind a dumpster. That's what he used to tell me. And it was so consistent that I actually believed it. Like because I didn't have support. I didn't have, when you're dealing with a person like that, they pull everything away from you. They pull family, friends, network, community away from you. So you're by yourself. So you're not hearing any other girlfriends or any other community saying like, hey girl, good job. Hey girl, good with that. Nothing. So, and I think another good thing is this community that I'm trying to build slowly, you know, with people like you who are willing to come on and share their stories of inspiration and hope. And I want this to be bigger than myself. I want this to be filled with so much power, so much inspiration that it's like bubbling up, that you can't help but be a female and be recommended to click on this channel. And know that it doesn't matter what you click on, it'll hit you in just the right spot with whatever you need for the day.
I love that. Oh, real quick. So did you find that it was tough to leave behind the words that he spoke over you, the labels and the things that he said about you? I mean, that is something that I've been talking a lot with people about, women really, is the labels and the things that people have said over you that you believed so wholeheartedly. And how do you shed that and leave it behind?
Yeah. So he used religion a lot. I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And when I came up pregnant, one of the things that happens when you're a Jehovah's Witness is they disown you. You get disassociated. So they totally cut you off. So when you are a Jehovah's Witness, also, you're not allowed to have outside friends. So I never hung out with anybody from school, never hung out from anybody from work. You only hang around with other Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, when you do something like this, the Jehovah's Witnesses cut you off. So I had no witness friends, zero. They all disconnect from you. Not even like a secret hello. There's nothing, including my parents. And then on top of that, I have no association in the world. So you're literally left completely isolated. And he came in at just that right spot. So you also have to realize that I extra believed him because I was already wearing a stain of being sinful, being the black sheep, being dirty, being gross, being unworthy, being basically nothing, being nothing, not having any worth whatsoever. And he would use that constantly. Like, no wonder this happened because you're so awful. You're so uneducated. So it was the entire upbringing that I had, that heaviness of like, what is the word when you like frustrate your parents, when you,
disappointment? Yeah,
disappointment that I had of my family. And then on top of that, God. And then on top of that, I have this man who's like, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. So it was hard. It was literally like climbing a mountain with bags and in the cold, and then having no rope, like nothing to hang on to. So I had to create it. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where you have to blame. So I got pregnant. I decided to leave that religion. I decided to hook up with this guy. I decided to quit my job and work for him. And once you start realizing, hey, I did it, that's when you can say, how am I going to get out of it? And that's when I was like, let me pull from other women. Let me pull from other people. And that's where my rope came in. And that's where I really started to, she said this, and he said this, and she said this. And I was able to climb off of their rope, their power. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I'm at the top, but I feel pretty freaking close to it. I feel really close to it.
That brought me back to like when I was talking about behavior patterns and just paying attention, like be self-aware of the choices you're making and the behaviors that you're doing, because if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. You know what I mean? So if you want something different, you got to change it. And change is hard and scary, you know, but like changing the words, even the words that you speak to yourself, you know, when somebody else says something about you, that's them saying it. But like, what are you saying to yourself and about yourself?
Exactly. What's so funny that you're saying that, because this was actually a huge misstep when Dane and I met, my fiance, because I had only exited my relationship 1 year. It was literally by the day. It was like 2 days of a year since I had left my ex that had done this to me. And one of the things that I had done towards the end of that relationship is whenever something good would happen, because one of the things that narcissists do is they do highs and lows. So you go from being like a princess, a queen, to being worse than the dirt on the ground. And they keep you in this thing. So one day I'm like the most amazing, most awesome, most beautifulest thing he's ever seen. And the next moment I am so far beneath him, he can't even look at me. So it's this constant pull for admiration. I'm constantly trying to get admiration from him. So anyways, towards the last year or so that I was with him, I would do this thing where whenever my ex would say, good job with that. Hey, how did you know how to do that? How did you know this? How did you know that? My answer would always be, because I know everything. Because I know everything. Because I know everything. So when I met my fiance, that's super conceited to say. You know what I mean? So when I met my fiance, he doesn't know anything about narcissism. He doesn't know anything about abuse. Like, his relationship with his ex ended, but it wasn't like, you know, they were horrible to each other and there was like all this, you know, dysfunction within the family. You know, things happened. It just didn't work out. But so he had a lot to learn, needless to say, and he's learned a lot about that world. But you know, he would say stuff every once in a while, like, hey, I'd be like, turn right. You know, he's like, is it left or is it right? I'd be like, turn right. And then I would wind up being right. He's like, oh yeah, it's up here. Good job. How did you know that? And I'd be like, I know everything. Or like, you know, and he actually took it as like, this girl is freaking conceited as hell. Like, I'm not sure I'm real down with this, because she's a little much into herself. And I had to explain to him that those were words that I used, kind of like what you were saying, to self-talk, to self-affirm, that I do know more than what I'm allowing myself to know or think that I know. So that is one of the things that I did in order to continue to pump the goodness into me. I know everything. I know everything. I know everything. And it pushed me to know more. Like, I have to know everything. So I have to keep digging, because I know everything. And it's a constant pull for more education, more knowledge, more just anything that I can grasp as far as being a better person. And so it's funny that you say that, because we actually fought about that a couple of times. Nothing big, but we were like, dude, you're a bit much. Like, come on, settle down, like humble yourself a little bit. And I had to explain that to him. Like, listen, this comes from a dark spot, and I need this. And I still do it. I don't care. I still do it. I never stopped.
Yeah. No, I used to, I have affirmations written everywhere. And one of them that I used to say every single day was, I have all the wisdom and knowledge that I need to be successful. I have it all. But it's remembering it. It's remembering that truth about myself.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.